Well, gunfire at Kennedy subway station this afternoon is the latest incident on the TTC after a violent weekend on the transit system. And for the latest, we go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew.
Good evening, Bakari. And what we can say now with an update from Toronto Police, we know a little bit more about not only what happened, but where in this very big station. Don't forget, this is the end of the line 2, the green line for the TTC. There's no more blue line or Scarborough RT. A lot of people coming and going here around 3:10 in the afternoon, which is where this took place. According to Toronto Police, a 16-year-old boy at some point was shot and grazed in his abdomen by a suspect who's described to be either in his late teens or early 20s. Very limited description coming from police. They can't even say how this man or young man, teenager, ultimately fled from the scene. No indication which direction or otherwise. That being said, there's things that we do know from police right now in terms of how this 16-year-old is doing and a little bit more about what's going on. Those things we did get a little bit of clarity on. Here's more from Toronto Police, as well as some of the people we've spoken to, either visiting Toronto or use the TTC all the time, but how they are feeling being on and riding the rocket.
The Toronto Transit Commission is the lead agency in providing security on the transit system, but Toronto Police works very closely with them. But it's a cooperative effort between the public and the police and the TTC. And so we're asking the public to do their part in providing information. If you see something, say something. Toronto Police responds very quickly to these incidents, and we take them very seriously. And we work in cooperation with Toronto Transit to help keep the system as safe as possible.
Yeah. Do you see coming back to Toronto that it feels a little more unsafe than when you left?
No, not particularly. I mean, I've only been here for a day so far. But no, it seems about the same as when I was here last, which was about 6 years ago.
I think it's something that the government could probably put more in towards mental health care, because that's something where people, if they don't have anywhere to go or the proper support, they can resort to violence that way. But other than that, I think it's more just something where people need support, really, than an indictment of failure on anybody's behalf.
Now, in terms of what new supports and planning are coming, the TTC does have an action plan being presented to its board of directors at a meeting next week. Now, when we do talk, I should say, about all of these incidents on the TTC, a brawl at Kipling Station, someone stabbed last night at Victoria Park. One thing to bear in mind is when you look at the data in terms of the amount of violent incidents that are reported on the TTC, we are down from where we saw ourselves during a bit of a panic back in January, roughly 1.5 incidents per million rides on the TTC. Bearing in mind, we do have about 2 million fares that are actually paid for each day. So it's almost 1 in a million, Bakari, but there's at least 1 or 2 incidents, if not more, happening on the TTC on any given day in this city.
Yeah, putting that into perspective, CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew, thank you.